Oh, and now I got 6:15. Okay, are we good with technology? Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals and Property Review Commission on August 17th, 2021 at 6:15 p.m. Pam, would you please go ahead and call the roll?
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Mr. Ogred.
Here.
Chairwoman Brinegar.
Here. Yeah, can we have a motion to please excuse Ms. Schroeder?
I'll motion to excuse her.
A motion was made by Mr. Burke to excuse Ms. Schroeder from tonight's BZA PRC meeting, and this was seconded by Mr. Ogred. Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Ogred?
Yes.
Chairwoman Brinegar.
Yes. Our next item of business is to approve prior minutes from July 20th, 2021. Any corrections, additions? I mean, I think we had our little mishap first where we got the incomplete version, but then they looked good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it too.
Okay.
I already went through.
All right, you want to move to?
I'll move to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second.
A motion was made by Mr. Ogred to approve the meeting minutes of July 20th, 2021, and this was seconded by Mr. Burke. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
All right. So tonight we are wearing our zoning hats for our variance hats today, since our board has two functions. We have three variances before us, and I'll kind of give an overview. For each, we're going to take one case at a time, and we start each one with a staff report. We have a chance for the property owner to give input. There's a chance for public to give input, and then the board will discuss and make our decision for each case one at a time. So the first case is VA 21-02 at 2136 South Lakeman. It is for an accessory structure. And so we start with our staff report, and our new city manager, Mr. Schomer, is going to have the honor of doing that for us tonight.
Well, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and Board. First of all, the staff report, I want to thank Mrs. Timmons for her diligence and comprehensive reports in covering all these tasks up to this point. So I just get the privilege and pleasure of reviewing it and making it kind of a dry run for when we get to take over putting these together. But certainly appreciate the structure and content of the report, so we'll certainly keep that trend. The first case, the applicant is requesting to build a 96 square foot accessory structure in the rear yard. The original request for the variance talks about change in location and moving into the setback to avoid a hill and some terrain in the yard itself. Upon review of the application, it was noted that an existing zoning code 18-05A regarding accessory buildings talks about a limitation of 600 square foot in aggregate for accessory structures. In this case, there is an existing two-car detached garage on the lot, and the addition of the 96 square foot would in fact exceed that. So the additional variance would need to be included in order to allow this permit to be issued for that particular nonconformity. Review of the properties has shown that there are existing exterior or accessory structures adjacent to and within the neighborhood, and the applicants, I believe, are here this evening should there be any more detailed questions or needs from them. Regarding the plat map and existing public utilities, it does show a drainage easement, but upon checking and inspecting the site, there is no drain or swell within this property, even though there is some terrain, but it's not related to a drain or swell issue for them. And that pretty much sums up the applicant. As you see attached, some diagrams and their intended purchase of structure, material, and blend there. And
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. All right. At this time, we invite the property owners, if they wish to speak, they may do so now. We ask that you come forward. We will swear you in, which is our standard procedure, and then you state your name and address and can give us your testimony.
I didn't come prepared to say anything. Is there any questions?
would you, well, why don't you come on up? Or at least one of you, come on up. We'll just have you come over here to the podium, sir. Yep. We're all fancy like this.
Okay.
And so what I'm going to do is swear you in.
I'm sure.
Okay. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board is the truth, the
Yes.
whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Right. If you please start by just stating your name and address.
2136 Lakeman. This isn't my type of work. Oh, I guess you want to know why I'm here. I wanted to let you know that we wanted to put a shed up in the corner. We didn't know about this aggregate stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we filed it in, but it took almost 2 months to get here, which was a pretty long time, and we expected it sooner than that. But there isn't many places on a lot that we could put it, because it goes out and then it goes down towards the house. So in the one corner, it's the flattest spot we got, and if we could keep it on the property to the closest as we can to the fence. I mean, I really like to have a 3 foot, but I settled on 5. And you just want to use it to put garden tools in the writing more, and things like that we get them out of the garage. And we've already bought and paid for it, and didn't realize until now that we had this aggregate type of total. So it was a surprise to us. Whoever called us, I appreciate the help they gave us. That's it, I guess.
Okay, yes. No, it's tough. I mean, you're here applying for a variance for one thing, the setback, and then suddenly we've got another thing we've thrown at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we weren't aware of it at the time until someone told us that. I hope there isn't any more.
And we apologize. I mean, hopefully it's been explained. We're a little short-staffed here, but so we apologize that it has taken so long, to get back to you.
Well, I'm hoping that we get our variance.
Does anybody have questions for the property owner while he's up here?
One I had is, we've already established the detached structure. Is there a garage attached to the main structure as well, or is it just the detached?
This is, the house when it was built had a garage. You got in from the front.
Oh, okay.
They remodeled it, and there's a bedroom now, so they built a garage in the back.
Gotcha.
So the only garage then you have is the detached garage?
It's a detached. Could I attach the shed to the house and make it part of the house?
You can. People have done that recently to get around some of this. It actually turned out pretty nice. Yeah. No, but that's a good clarifying question,
Yeah.
right? So
That's
that
not
is
always
the
the
only
case.
functional garage. Okay. Is the detached one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The other question I had, I can't tell, is there anything that would have to be removed in that area?
No,
Any trees or?
no trees, just a bush. One of those grass things.
And how far would the shed be from your existing garage approximately, do you know?
Oh, I don't know, close to 40 feet, I'd say.
Any other
I would also note, even though it doesn't depict on the picture because of the blue line, there is a privacy fence, nicely structured privacy fence all around the backyard regarding any visibility or things from adjacent property. So that does exist and is in place.
And as best we know, this might not be the best time for this, but we didn't get any sort of feedback from the public on this case, right? Okay.
All right. Anything else that would be helpful for us to know?
No,
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now is the time. If anybody in the audience from the general public would like to make a comment, you're welcome to do so. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public input portion, and now is it time for us to deliberate as a board.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm struck by the fact that there's a similarity, right? We had a
Last
piece like this just last month where we had an additional structure that was over the total amount. This will,
There is one difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
A big difference, that the house does not have an attached garage.
correct.
It's been remodeled into a bedroom. So the only garage structure for storage or parking is the detached garage. As the case last week, they had both
Yes,
an attached garage and a detached garage.
correct. I think that's a distinctive difference.
Mhm.
Yeah. That was the issue that I had more of a question about, as opposed to the setback felt like it was,
Yeah.
it made sense to me. I mean,
Mhm.
their decision to move it because of the slope of the backyard. But we're gonna have to, I guess,
Yeah, I mean, if we
Um,
want to
what-
just knock that one out now, if,
well, it becomes a moot point if, though, maybe we should start with the first one about the
first one
aggregate
about the
size.
aggregate.
Because if we say no,
That's
then
the
the other
big
one
one.
doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to
Yes.
start there? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the variance for, to exceed the limit of 600 square feet? I guess it would be by, we're guessing 696, or the additional 96 square feet. We'll take that one first.
I will make a motion to accept the variance for going over the 600 square foot aggregate total for outbuildings.
do we want to designate a certain square footage? Like within,
Put it at 696.
well, depends what the,
Depends what the
yeah, there's
existing- yeah.
96 plus whatever the existing structure is.
Can we, yeah?
I don't know if we can word it that way, but like,
Yeah. There should be
not a lot of
limit.
extra leeway for something bigger yet.
Certainly, you could word it as such that increase the aggregate square foot
Existing
to accommodate what is noted in the application, which is 96 square feet.
Yeah.
Okay. We're saying yes, and Pam has to write it. Yeah, exactly like that.
Just like that.
I think I got it. So did someone make a motion?
I did.
Oh, okay. See, I'm a
Motion
stuffer.
to approve the variance.
Yes,
Of what was said, yeah,
Of
and I will
what
second
was
that.
said.
yeah.
Motion to approve the variance to increase the aggregate covered square footage to accommodate the 96 square foot accessory structure applied for.
Mhm.
Good memory.
Yes.
Sounds good.
I seconded it.
Right. Mr. Ogren made a motion to approve VA 21-02, guess we'll call this A, at 2136 South Lakeman to increase the aggregate covered square footage to accommodate the 96 square foot accessory structure that has been applied for. And this was seconded by Mr. Burke. Mr. Ogren?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Chairperson Brennan?
Yes. Okay, so the first variance is approved. So that leaves us with the second variance that we have to consider, and that is the change in the setback to, I guess it's from 8 feet to 5, yes, due to the slope of the backyard. Having a big slope in my own backyard, I can appreciate that.
I know this very well.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay,
same.
okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the variance for the setback to 5 feet instead of the required 8 feet.
I'll second.
Mr. Ogred made a motion to approve variance 21-02B at 2136 South Lakeman to allow for a 5-foot setback from the property line instead of the required 8-foot. This was seconded by Mr. Burke. Mr. Ogred,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Chairperson Brinegar.
Yes. Okay. So both variances have passed, and I believe, who is the person? Are you in touch with them, or who's
Yes,
doing that these days? Okay.
Yeah, I will contact you tomorrow with your signed permit so that you can go on to your next step.
And you're welcome to stay, or you can leave at your choice. Okay. Okay. Well, let's go on to our second case. It's variance 21-03 at 1501 Laneley Drive, related to new construction. And again, we're gonna follow the same order. We'll have Mr. Schomer provide our staff report.
Yeah, thank you. As noted, the request is to add a post and beam type structure to cover a concrete patio addition. And this would be extending into the front and side yards of the property. As noted, there's currently a deck that is in need of repair, and this is the replacement structure for that, adding a cover. As noted in the application, they want to blend the roof to match and integrate into the existing home's roof. And the variance would be to allow this structure to avoid a electrical tie-in box on the side of the residence and cause the new patio, covered patio structure to extend beyond the front of the main structure by, I believe, 4 feet. So the variance would be to allow that, the code indicating that no structure may project into a required front yard being the case in this particular application. The applicant did provide some detailed responses and information for the zoning variance questions and response that is included in the record. And I believe the applicant is here tonight in case there are any additional questions or information needed. In looking through both the neighborhood and the setting of the residence, there is, as I noted, an existing structure there. This would just be moving a little bit forward, and it does not appear to impose any significant concerns for any variance request, and it does not interfere with any easements or anything that we were able to come up with in our research.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll invite the property owner. Please come on up, and I will swear you in. Okay. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking time with me tonight.
Sure.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what.
Pause. Can I just have you state your name
Oh,
and
sorry.
address real quick?
Yeah, Brett Dowdican at 1501 Laneley Drive.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have an existing deck. It has a privacy fence out front of it. And actually the existing privacy fence, this was not built by us, but it sticks out, I think, about 6 feet in front of our property.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So we were just looking to replace it. It's kind of in disrepair. It's getting old. We wanted to put something a little better, a little nicer. With the cost of lumber, we did not decide to screen it in, but we might eventually decide to do that. But there's the existing electrical tie-in. There's also a radon and an exhaust fan and a cable. All goes into an area that we cannot really exceed. We'd have to move all those if we wanted to push it back any further that we have, and a window. And so our hope was it's essentially cover almost the exact area. I think it's maybe a foot or two bigger, but it'd actually be less than the privacy fence, if that kind of makes sense.
Yes.
So, and then but I do think it would not decrease value in the property. I think we know it's all within the easements and everything else. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them about what we're thinking of doing.
I do have a question. So is the privacy fence staying as
No,
is?
we would remove the privacy
Okay.
fence. That's actually kind of the part that's starting to fall down a little bit.
Yes.
The posts are getting get a little weak at the base, so we wanted to remove the privacy fence and kind of clean it up, put some new landscaping in front. We'd probably use privacy landscaping instead of privacy fence.
Okay.
We'd probably put some bushes or something, but try to clean it up a lot than kind of what it currently looks like.
And so just so I can visualize it, because I did drive by, but it was hard to
Yeah.
see, but I'm
I
guessing
brought
that-
pictures if you want them.
that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing it was right behind that privacy fence and just not
Yes.
able to be seen from the road.
Yeah, so you guys can kind of, see if you want to pass those down.
Sure.
Look at some of the pictures that we have. I just tried to take a few the other day.
Would everything behind the fence then be removed?
Yes, yeah. So because behind the fence, it's a unique setup, but it is what it is. They kind of like built almost like a shed area that you can store stuff in. It's not a full shed, but it's like a little. You can store your patio furniture in it essentially in the winter, and then that abuts into our deck, which then kind of goes back from there. So we would remove all of that stuff and then just replace it all with something a little bit cleaner. Is our idea. And it's yeah.
And the only other question I had prepared was, and I see the electric box, there's no way you could move that. Looks like there's a lot of other things.
Yeah,
there.
so there's our basement, for some reason, we don't have a bedroom in there, but there's an exhaust fan and it puts out there, and then there's a radon, and our cable also goes in there. So there'd be multiple things that would have to be moved.
On your diagram too, I did notice that it said 4 to 6 feet coming forward. Is that?
So I think it's 4 feet. I think it's 4 feet 6 inches. Would be where the front of it would be. I believe that's what I had it as.
Okay, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I
Yeah, no, it said sorry, I printed it out pretty tiny, but
You're not showing your age at all, right? I'm right there with you. And I think you said this, but as I'm thinking through this in my head, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So it's 4 feet 6 inches that it would be extruding in front of the house, but the current privacy fence is 6 feet.
yes,
It
yeah,
would actually be an improvement.
yeah, it would actually regress from where its current stat is,
Yeah.
towards the house, just the way that it was set up when we got it.
Okay.
And the house is kind of dimensional, like it's kind of staggered. It's not like a
It
flat
is.
front,
It's
so I think it
different.
would look pretty seamless. And there's no, it's a weird. I said I love our house. I keep on saying it's weird, but I do really enjoy it. But the only way to access the backyard is through our side. We don't have a back entrance into our yard because it's a quad level. So that is our entrance to the back. So we wanted to put a nicer deck on, but that is our side yard is kind of like our backyard in that sense.
I could see that.
Yeah. Just the orientation of it.
I think my questions have been answered. I don't know if either of you have any additional questions.
No, I didn't have anything.
Do you plan to put any utilities?
No, I mean, not at this time. We just wanted to make the improvement. I said eventually we'd probably want to screen it in for all the wonderful mosquitoes that we have, but that'd be about the only thing. There's already an existing light and an outlet there, and we'd probably just kind of do some string lights or something in there, but nothing crazy. No plumbing, no HVAC, none of that stuff, but probably an extension cord.
Okay.
Off the existing outlet.
The pitch of the roof, you say, is to match.
Yeah. So it would match. We were just gonna rip off all the roofing on the existing and make even like the shingles and everything seamless. And I think it's a 12-2 pitch that we were looking at that we were gonna match.
All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We have a large audience here, but it's my opportunity to invite anybody from the public who would like to speak on behalf of this case is welcome to do so now. Okay. Seeing none, we will go ahead and move to our deliberations here. So yeah, I did have a chance to drive by, and I see this as an overall improvement, right? I mean,
That's the way I looked at it when I went by it. I said, I think this is gonna look really good.
yeah,
By their plans.
because I agree that the fence is, I think, seeing a better day, and it actually be set back closer to the house, about extend this far, and with some landscaping, and it's pretty far distance from the road, even though it's, you know, I don't see any, I don't have any big concerns. I think it will be improved.
Yeah, I think overall I'm still a little maybe thrown off by what counts for the variance here. I mean, the house is already set back. It says 60 feet, and the setback for that part of the neighborhood's 40 feet. Required setback. So everything is already set back well beyond the setback.
But is it because of the house?
It extends from the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, the code talks about front yard, so technically the structure would, you know, creep into the front yard. It doesn't, it's fine with the setback from the right-of-way from the front of the street.
Right, that's what I.
But it would
okay,
be
so-
the front yard, meaning starting at the front edge of the existing house. This would come out a little bit, and
Okay.
that's the portion of the code
Because
that it's referring to.
It actually says no structure may project into a required front yard.
See, yeah, but I interpreted required front yard to be the required setback of a front
Okay,
yard, so
I
it
know.
was just an interpretation, so. Okay, so it's just coming forward.
And it's
of an
I mean, it
existing-
will be forward, but it's also, it's on the side. I mean, I think visually, you look at it and you think side, even
Yeah.
though it's technically front. I mean,
Looking at the property, it kind of balances out the house too, you know,
Yeah,
does that answer your, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Philip.
just from a visual standpoint of looking at it, how it would blend in with the house and the property. It would actually make it look a very even, take a nice portion of the property.
yeah, everything's kind of already irregular and
Yeah.
go right in.
And then Aaron, sounds like you have your answer to your questioning about what we're actually
Yeah,
granting a
Yep.
variance on.
Yep.
All right, well, is there a motion to accept the variance at 1501 Laneley Drive for the amount that it's going to extend past the front of the house?
Yeah, I'll motion.
I'll second.
A motion was made by Mr. Burke to approve VA 21-03, variance from 18.11, projections into required yards to allow for the porch to project into the front and side yards of the property, and this was seconded by Mr. Ogrid. Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Ogrid?
Yes.
Chairperson Brennan?
Yes. All right. Get situated here. Did you want to say anything related to that?
I'll also contact you tomorrow.
Okay. We're making good headway here in our meeting. We're going to go to our third and final case. This is VA 21-06 at 3544 Ridgeway Road, relating the variances for an accessory structure. And again, we will start with our staff report.
Thank you. This is another request for an accessory structure that would exceed the 600 square foot aggregate total. The building requested would be 676 square feet placed to the rear of the residence, used on a single-family lot, used for additional vehicle storage, storage of miscellaneous tools, maintenance, etc. No request it would comply and fit within the required setbacks. There is a 10-foot utility easement along the rear and east of the property lines. It does not appear as if there would be encroachment upon that. And the applicant is here as well for this particular application. There was some comment provided for this that was included in the packet. And again, other than the 76 additional square feet requested for the variance, there are no other issues revealed in the review.
And the additional information we got was actually not so much concerning the size,
Correct.
right? It was more about the
look.
look, yeah, with that it was, the
Materials,
materials, that it was a metal-sided roof. Was it that it seemed maybe different than what the aesthetic was in the nearby houses, so that was the concern.
And then they were also concerned about the larger plan for landscaping. How it would look natural, I guess.
Yeah, and that was the only, I think, additional piece of information we had from any of the neighbors. All right, is that, anything else you wanted to add to that?
Nope, that is, it's pretty straightforward in what the request is.
Okay. All right. We'll invite you up as the property owner if you would like to give us your input. I'll start by swearing you in. Okay. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state
I'm
your
Thomas
name.
Cornelison. I live at 3544 Ridgeway Road. My family and I just recently moved here from Okinawa, Japan. My wife's active duty military. And we bought the house. We did majority of the procedure while we were still in Japan. We got here in Ohio, and 2 days later we signed the closing documents and finalized the buy before we ever actually saw the house in person. As a hobby, I work on cars. I had 2 in storage in Oklahoma, and I ended up bringing one back from Japan. So a total right now I have 5. I recently just got one of the 2 from Oklahoma up here. As such, I don't have enough coverage for my vehicles, and we got our household and storage shipments at different times, and right now all of my storage stuff is literally boxed up in the garage. I have nowhere to unpack it, let alone put it away. And that's the biggest driving for wanting the shop out back. As for the aesthetics, I've taken it upon myself to completely redo the backyard. We had a large section of somebody told me it was a Japanese honeysuckle in the backyard.
Probably.
And it was encroaching. Within a month. It grew into my yard an additional 10 foot past what it already was. So we had about a 20-foot deep section for roughly 40 foot that was just completely inaccessible. I rented a wood chipper, and my brother came down and we took out majority of that. I still have a couple more that I want to get rid of, especially since it appears to be an invasive species. I also have a mound along the side of my house. It's roughly, right now it's roughly 85 to 90 foot long, 6 foot tall, and 12 foot at the narrowest part. And it's just an eyesore. It's highly difficult to maintain. I've spoken with Jerry, and he's in one of the city offices. I can't remember which one.
Service maybe? Or?
Yes, yes, that's it. He sees absolutely no reason why I shouldn't be able to get rid of that, and so I've started on that. And my overall objective is to open up the yard as much as possible while still maintaining, not maintaining, but gaining a little bit of additional storage and space away from the street and house and the other neighbors, where I can maintain my stuff without bothering anybody else around me.
So this mound, is this something that would technically already be like a violation of
So
property maintenance code? Like, what consists of the mound?
well, it's just dirt, and
it's dirt,
Yeah,
okay.
from what I understand, when the developer was right there, it's next to the two water towers right down the road.
Yeah.
Apparently, there was some talk about how unsightly the two water towers were. So, as like a compromise, he put this ugly mound there, and it's atrocious. It's got trees that are growing in it, and I've already removed a couple because they were dead, and I hooked my tile on and pulled them over with ease.
Okay.
And my concern with that was that if they decided to fall, they're so close to city property that they would fall on the city fence, and it started from my property, so I'd be liable for that. So I've already started removing those. I've got, I think, 5 more to remove, and then it's a large chunk of land that my kids can't play on.
Yeah.
I don't want to mow. I don't want to try to push a mower up it. Weed eating is not something I enjoy doing in the least. So I figured it'd just be better all around and value-wise to get rid of it. As for the material of the shop, it is an all-metal building that I have unfortunately already put some money down in order to get the plans to have everybody better informed of what exactly I'm wanting. It's all metal. It's through Dayton Barn and something I don't remember the rest of it. Barn and Garage. It's a local company. It'd be all professionally installed. The only thing I would have to do is prep the land and put a slab down, and then let them know, and they would come out and fully install it. I would have to trim a couple of my trees, but they are in need of trimming already. I do have a shed in that area, and my thought was whenever I got enough of the mound cleared out, I could put it next to the fence, and both of those would only be visible from in front of the driveway or from my neighbor's backyard.
But the plan would be to keep the shed, is what I hear you saying?
If it's salvageable. I don't know how old it is. I know that where it's at, it's sitting on the ground. It's not on any kind of foundation, no concrete pavers, anything like that. And with the trees growing up over it, it doesn't dry there very well. At one point this summer, I could not get into the shed whatsoever because of the surrounding growth. And that was one of the things that my brother helped me clear out whenever he came down. So if I could keep it, I'd like to. I don't know if it counts towards the aggregate.
It would.
Then it will go bye-bye.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking of discerning, that could be a factor, right? That I'm thinking, like, if, do we make an allowance, but then would we say, if this is not in great shape, just get rid of it?
Well,
or,
the plan for the shop is it's large enough that I would be able to put shelving in there and things of that nature to more than make up for the loss of the shed.
Okay.
So if I
Okay.
can't keep the shed, I simply cannot keep it.
Okay. That's helpful to know.
How did you come to the size that you chose?
It was actually one of I contacted the company and asked them about some of their sizes, and that was one that they threw out for one of the better prices. I had spoke with another company, and they wanted to sell me something smaller that I had to install myself without doors for, I think it was $1,000 less, whereas this company was bigger. It came with the doors, and they installed it. And that was the selling point for me on that, because I don't have family or friends here at this moment. So taking on a task like that by myself is not very conducive whatsoever.
Yeah, that was also my question, because I said 76 square feet. Why do you need the extra 76 square feet? You could build a 600 square foot structure and be done with it.
I had a 24 by 24 shop in Oklahoma, and having one car in there, that was plenty of room. But whenever I got two vehicles in there side by side, I couldn't, like, if I had to remove the wheel for whatever reason, I was very limited on space and ended up damaging the vehicle next to me whenever a ratchet slipped. and I'd like to minimize that as much as possible. As it is, the car that I brought back from Japan, my wife recently ran into in the garage, and I want to get it out of there because that fender was $1,000 that I now have to replace, and that's before paint. So it's just one of those things. In the long run, I want to have it out away from everything. And while I do want it as far back on the property, I still do want it to look nice and clean.
Do you have an attached garage
Yes, sir, I do.
in the house?
Yes. At the moment, I've got 2 cars squeezed in there, and then all of my tools and our storage stuff that I just haven't been able to unpack at the moment because there's no space out there, and doing it in the driveway right now is not a good idea with all the rain, unfortunately.
Would you be putting a driveway back to that?
No, sir, that was not my intent because I figured whatever was in there would be there for a considerable amount of time. It wouldn't be everyday traffic back and forth, back
Okay.
and forth.
And would you be having any utilities?
Yes, sir, I plan on having electric for, I have 2 welders and an air compressor.
Do you have a comment or question?
I did. Just making note, there is a 10-foot utility easement along the rear and east property lines, and it appears that you would be placing this to the rear and the east, and
Yes,
then
sir.
noted 8-foot front. So I would want to make sure that if a variance would be issued, that it would be contingent upon a site measurement back to make sure that there's not encroachment upon that utility easement. It might need an adjustment of a couple of feet, whether the easement is a 10-foot wide easement, which would be within it because it'd be 5 on one and 5 on the other. We would want to verify that to make sure that it's not 10 foot into this property. We wouldn't want him to erect a structure and then have a utility company come tear part of it down for you. We wouldn't want to set him up for that. So we would just want to verify that the easement is in fact a 10-foot easement, which would be 10 foot in total, not 10 foot into the applicant's property line. So we would, should a decision be made, we would want to include that as a contingency for issuance of the permit. And that's mainly for the homeowner's protection to make sure that what he's looking at is correct.
So, from what I understood of that, I was looking at that diagram on my phone back when I first looked at it. I read it, I thought it was a stormwater runoff easement. And when I had Jerry come out and look at it, he specifically said, I don't know why you would have a stormwater easement here. So yeah, if it is a utility easement and I do get the approval, I would very much like to stay out of that easement to avoid
Yes.
Right.
any future issues.
And we would just want to make sure to clarify that
Yes, sir.
in a permit, should it be issued. So that's just to make sure to
Yes, sir. I'm
protect you and.
trying to mind all my P's and Q's and
Absolutely.
not step on any toes where I.
And would it
Don't
need
need
to,
to.
would it need to be moved within that? It still wouldn't affect any setbacks. It would be an improvement on it, so. But it could be a drainage easement, and that could be what it is for
Okay.
utility, but just want to make sure it's not electric or something
Sure.
like that.
And the height of the structure, it's hard to read on your application, what would the height of it?
From the sidewalls would be 14 feet. I had hopes of possibly putting a lift in one side and like a loft on the other side, almost like an attic for additional storage space of household items and things of that nature.
And is this, yeah, and so the 26 by 26, I mean, it's partly, I'm going to press this, you're so close to the 600 too.
I'm having a little trouble with that because you could go to 25 by 24 and you'd be set. needed.
Yeah. The only rebuttal I have for that is my toolbox and stuff would fill that 1 foot spot, and so the extra square footage there, the extra foot on each side, or 1 foot on one side and 2 foot on the other side, would allow me extra room around the vehicle, and it's just, that's simply a comfort thing.
When you did say you had a previous one that was 24 by 24.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. With that one, I did notice that in certain areas, I would have things stacked on top of things in order just to get two vehicles in, mirror to mirror. I would have a hard time getting around the vehicles. And right now, that's a secondary thing. If I want to put my Tahoe in there, it doesn't fit in the main garage. It's wall to wall. If I close the door and get out, then I have to crawl over the vehicle or through the vehicle or reopen the door to go around. So the extra room on the shop would just be that much more comfortable, and I'd have to worry about dinging stuff or locking myself in, having to squeeze out through somewhere that I really don't want to crawl.
And I think, I wanted to go back to the neighbor that just had concerns about was there something about the landscaping? Were there concerns about just some of the stuff you'd already described?
So,
or was
yes,
that-
ma'am. I was actually talking with him last night.
Okay.
He's the neighbor I know the best.
Okay.
And he came over and I actually walked him through it, and he was like, "That's going to look good. That's going to look really nice. Can't wait to see it finished." And right now my yard is a complete mess, and it's driving me crazy. Every time I plan to do work, it rains, and so I've repeatedly apologized to him, and he's stated that I understand that it's going to look ugly, but you've explained to me what your overall goal is, and so I'm fine with it.
Okay.
And then his other concern was that the rest of the houses are wood, and I'm wanting a metal shop, and the only reason for that is because lumber is outrageous at the moment,
Fact.
unfortunately.
Just the design, just to go into your design, it says here that there are 2 garage doors.
Yes, sir.
Kind of envision how that would sit on the property.
So if you're standing in the driveway looking back, there'd be a 10 by 10 door on the right, because when my wife first got her orders here, she had mentioned possibly wanting to get a boat. So I would want the bigger door for that, and then an 8 by 8 door, roll-up door right in front.
on.
Yes, sir. And then a man door, a walk-through door around the side, so that if you drove by the property, all you saw were the 2 roll-up doors. And I'd also like to note that the colors I chose, I tried to pick as close to the colors that my house currently are, so that way it wouldn't be such a sore thumb, only like a 2-day smash thumb.
You also had a window. Where would the window?
Yes, sir. The window would be around this, like on the side behind the man door.
You wouldn't see that from the.
No, sir. No. And in hindsight, I think it would have been better on the other side where there are less trees. Provided I go with this one, I'm going to contact the company and see about putting it on the opposite wall for better sunlight versus the side that's completely shaded. And yes, sir.
You mentioned something about adding some height. Would that go above 15 feet then?
No, sir. It would. I'm not going to say no. I'm not entirely sure. I believe that due to the elevation of the roof, the peak would be right around 15 because the sidewalls would be 14. But when I've tried to look at this before, I just get confused and a headache.
Doesn't seem clear.
Yeah.
The only reason I bring that up is if you go above 15, you need another variance to
Yes,
go
sir.
above 15.
Yes, sir. That is an excellent question that I didn't realize I didn't have an answer for until tonight.
So on the one sheet, it says you've got a 13-foot leg height
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, 13 foot.
Then on the other sheet, it looked like it said, I couldn't tell whether it was a 13 or a 15. That's why I was asking about the height.
Sorry, yeah, it is a 13-foot leg height. But as for where the peak lays, I'm not entirely certain of the height of the peak.
But I guess if we're gonna go, I mean, it's, and again, it is a little bit hard to read if that's a 13 or a 15, and I just wanna make sure that's clear on what we're approving here, if we approve it. Yeah, 13.
This is 13 here.
Yeah,
I couldn't
I
tell
think
what
that is
that
my
was.
mistake.
It kinda looks like a
13,
13.
okay.
Yeah, I'd say it's 13 since
Okay.
the thing from the
Not the other one.
This is
company is
That's what I saw.
13.
Okay.
This here.
Yeah.
I apologize about that. I should have taken the time to
Okay.
redo the form completely.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
So,
Okay, any additional information that you think would be helpful, or?
I've covered everything on my notes. I mean, unless you have any other questions, I'm kind of dry.
Okay, okay.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
All right.
and your family for your service.
Yes, and welcome, welcome. I don't see anyone else here to make public comment. Again, look left and right, right?
No, Pat was the only one. I did speak with the neighbors next door to me,
Okay,
and they just simply said that they thought it would look great. I apologize for the mess, and
yeah.
Miss Lynn stated sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I don't like my broken eggs at the moment, but sure my omelet will look amazing.
Right. There's a vision, though, is what I hear you saying. There's a vision. Okay. All right. Well, we can go ahead and deliberate on our final case here. I kind of already alluded to this. I mean, I'm inclined to sort of, if we approve this, to maybe keep it to the new structure of 676 as opposed to having the old shed, I guess, which would add to the total.
Right.
Especially since if it's a little bit older and we're trying to keep it, and it sounds like it's a plan to make it overall look better too. So that would be one condition I'm kind of thinking about right now.
Yeah, that was a concern. The old structure is there. It may or may not fit into the whole landscape that you're thinking. I wouldn't want to give a variance with something kind of unknown still there.
I mean, this is one of those cases that goes to about every other one we hear now, which is
I know.
an accessory structure larger than the
Yeah.
600 square foot.
Well,
We've,
That was my question is, the extra space is so small in my mind that what do you really gain? There are little things that you do gain, but
Yeah.
I just go back to my neighbor who has a 600 square foot building and he fits a heck of a lot of things in there.
yeah, I think we've been,
I don't know.
I mean, short of some reasonable exceptions, we've been pretty consistent, I think, on kind of narrowing into what we think the intent of that was and kind of why we've been sticking to it. I continue to go back every time to just rethink through what is the point of a variance. And I don't think this quite meets what the intent is, especially given that, you know, if this is under 600, it's not even an issue. The extra 76, I don't think warrants the issuance of a variance.
Well, we can go, I mean, I'm gonna pull it up. I saved it as a picture on my phone so I could get to it easy.
That
Now
was
let's
my
see if I actually
concern,
can.
like you had the actual verbiage in the
Yeah,
code.
I mean, I have
is-
the verbiage here.
Yeah,
Is
I
the,
just
the
found it.
hardship.
Yeah.
That's
So
where I
what
kinda
were you,
struggled
what
too.
picture were you,
Same thing.
Oh, okay.
I suspect here.
20.13?
Like if it's the right, yes, 20.13. Procedure for the consideration of petitions for variances shall be, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall make a finding that the reasons set forth in the application are valid and justify the granting of the variance. The board shall also determine if the variance is the minimum variance to make possible.
What section are you on? Are you on 20.13
Dot one.
regular, not dot one,
Oh.
right above it?
Right above it. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, yeah, here we go. To vary the strict application of any of the requirements of this ordinance in the case of exceptionally irregular, narrow, shallow, or deep lots, or other exceptional physical conditions whereby such strict application would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship, not economic in nature, that would deprive the owner of reasonable use of the land or building involved, but in no other case. Is that the,
Yeah, that's generally
Yep.
the heart of it. So we've sort of been using that
Yep.
lately. I think at applying that to this case, I lean no. Just knowing that it's not saying no to everything. It's just saying no to above 600. I feel like I think what's within reason is 600 to meet most needs of the city, short of some of the exceptions which we've heard in past cases.
I read that again earlier and really was struggling.
I'm
with that
struggling, I
extra-
know.
Extra square footage.
I mean, I think I'm pretty set on no. I'd be willing to make a motion on that, depending on whether others have sort of asked
I
some
mean,
questions.
if I were to say yes, I mean, I think it would be conditional on like the other shed. I think would have to go, partly to minimize the aggregate square footage, and just to overall, I think, have the appearance be cleaner. And I do appreciate his efforts to clean things up. But but we've considered that before, and it's always appreciated. But is that enough to grant one?
I don't know, I tend to lean no as well. Just from, if you read that code, it really doesn't meet that threshold.
The undue hardship, yeah.
I would make a motion to decline or deny the variance.
I will second.
Mr. Burke made a motion to deny variance request 21-06 for an accessory structure of 676 square foot at 3544 Ridgeway, and this was seconded by Mr. Ogrid. Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Ogrid?
Yes.
Chairperson Brinegar?
Yes, reluctantly. Thank you, sir.
I'm just wondering if we can work with him to maybe, get a 600 square foot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
We've done that in the past,
And I know he said he's maybe put a down payment, but I'm sure this company could apply that to something else. So I'll call him tomorrow.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We were just talking.
We were just discussing
Stay
that.
here. Stay here.
My wife is at home with the kids.
Okay. Okay.
Hurry to get
I
back.
mean, we know you've made a down payment. Is this something? Do you think is this company willing to just adjust it for you?
I didn't think to ask them that
Sure.
because when I did give them the down payment, I was just learning of the zoning,
Yeah.
this. So I didn't ask them that. I had asked a previous company before the previous one I talked to, before I even asked, or before I ever came in here to apply for the permit. That company said yes. And then moving on to the next one, I was trying to hurry up and get
Yeah.
everything turned in. I didn't even think to ask them that. So.
Because we want you to have,
Yeah.
we want you to have an accessory
That was my
structure.
first thought is, can we work with you to get, 25 by 24, so you've got,
I mean, trying to think of how to word my statements so I don't sound like an ass. Excuse me. When you're looking to buy a house, and well, this house is $1,000 more, but it's got an extra 76 square foot. That's half of a standard bedroom. Like, it doesn't sound like much, but like the shed that I currently have it's 80 square foot. It's tiny. It really is. It's like I step in there and I'm like, wow. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to contact the company and see if I can transfer my deposit to another building, because otherwise I've taken a $20,000 loan for nothing, essentially. I mean, I'll still clean up my land, like, that's gonna happen regardless. It was just everything is kind of ties together, kind of flows together. Can't pour the slab for the garage, so I clean out part of the shop. Can't do the driveway extension until I do the, my words. Can't pour the slab for the shop until I clear out part of the mound or the hill. Can't pour the driveway extension, and I don't want to, mess with leveling the yard, reseeding until after I'm done with that atrocious mound, which is going to cost me thousands as is, because it's expensive with dirt apparently. So, yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I don't need a permit to do the 600.
Right.
You don't.
Okay.
Well, you
It's
need
still a
permit.
Permit, not a
Still a permit.
variance, yeah, sorry.
You don't need a variance.
Yes,
Yes.
600
I
is
need to go
within
over
the
there,
zoning.
not here. So, I've got just all sorts of things happening right now with work, kids, being
Yeah.
away. Telework, so I'm stuck with kids. School starts tomorrow for one of them. Excited. So, okay.
Before he leaves, there's one thing that just popped in while the case is still open to consider. We had a slight discussion about the height, but I don't know that was ever clarified. I wouldn't want to have the applicant leave and run into a concern where perhaps the pitch of the roof, if it's a standard pitch and is compliant, would it be worth noting a consideration that if the overall height exceeds the 15 feet because the 13-foot sidewalls, and considering the pitch matching that relative to the existing home structure, we wouldn't want to have him come back for a variance for a foot or something. So if that is the case, since you don't know for sure, certainly don't want carte blanche, be as tall as you want, but
Right.
To say that if a standard pitch and
Yeah.
dimension of the roof matching the 13-foot sidewalls, maybe not to exceed, I'm not sure what that dimension would be.
I think we've had this in the past, and it's not, we granted like a 17-foot,
Okay.
I think was the.
The highest has been like 16 or 17. I haven't seen
Yeah,
anything
you'd
higher
have to
than
have a
that.
pretty,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
17 feet,
Yeah.
from what I recall.
Because with 13 feet and then even a 12-2 pitch, I don't know how long each side of the roof would, well, if it's 24, it'd be 12-2, it'd be 12-2, and it'd be 15 feet,
So
right,
give me
so,
another foot maybe
yeah,
in there.
right, so,
Depending if it's 12.2 though, we don't know.
right.
So,
I assume it'd be a 12-2, which would be standard.
It was a 12.3. That's actually in there.
12.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, so 12-3, so we would need
16.
16,
Okay.
right.
Until you just mentioned it. So you said it, it's right.
Oh, okay,
Oh.
well, you're right.
Yeah, I didn't understand what that meant.
Yeah,
but
12-3, yep,
you
So
started
then
so,
saying
it clicked, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Jack of all
So-
trades, master of none. I know just enough to get hurt.
Well, do
so,
we want to consider another variance then?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're asking. is
yeah, I
if we
think,
want to-
I think you would almost need to,
Yeah.
Yeah, to prevent another go-around like this.
Yeah.
since
Get
he's
a
here, he's
600
already paid for this
Yeah.
process.
600 square foot size, you're fine, and if we would consider the, the extra height, then you would be off and running.
I guess, do we want to pick
Yeah.
a number?
Did we decide, is it 16 that it's?
If it is a 12.3, and if the sidewalls truly are 13 feet, but is that going to consider height to foundation? I would consider measurement from foundation, not necessarily the ground, but I'm not an engineer. So if somebody were going to mount to the ground, if you've got an 8-inch foundation, I mean, we're getting into so much
I'm an
technicalities.
engineer, but not that kind.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
even an engineer.
I'm an engineer and I'm.
Or an architect, I should say, maybe not that, yeah. I did stay at a Holiday Inn once.
There you go.
You got all the answers.
That does it.
I don't know. I don't know what to pick. 16 and a half, 17.
I think
If
I would say
17 has gone
17.
before,
17 to
because
17.
12.3 is a
I think we
common
have.
pitch, that would be, right.
That's
I
fine.
think we've gone
Yeah.
to 17 before. So,
Sorry, I just want to
No, that
make
makes
sure to
good
leave
sense.
him with
Yeah.
everything that he needs to get going.
Yeah.
So
so do we need to make
we
a
would probably need a
motion?
motion.
Yeah.
then,
So
yes.
we're gonna call this B.
Mhm.
So this is gonna be variance 21-06B. A was for the 676 square foot. B will be for a 600 square foot, with a height up to 17 foot.
I guess you don't even have to clarify this 600 square foot, right?
We don't.
Literally
I
just-
don't.
it's
But
just,
she's-
Just a
yeah,
variance for the
Since
height-
it
just
said
variance
the
for a
first
height.
one,
Yeah.
right, okay,
Just to
it's,
clarify
okay.
that it's
So-
literally just the height.
Yeah, it's just the height, okay.
I guess I will motion on VA 21-06B to allow for a 17-foot height on an accessory structure.
Or up to, because we don't.
Up to,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
up to.
I will second that motion.
Alright. Mr. Burke made a motion to approve variance 21-06B to allow for the accessory structure height, to be allowed to be up to 17 foot. This was seconded by Mr. Ogren. Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Ogren,
Yes.
Chairperson Brunecker.
Yes.
That's for clarification. Is that measured from the ground versus flat?
I think you'll be safe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully you should be safe.
I mean, I do plan on,
unless you got a 12-inch foot slab, and if that, you're probably paying
that Probably concrete man overdoing a
little
it.
too much,
I'm not lifting big rigs. I mean, it's, the slab is gonna be 4.5 inches of 4,000 PSI concrete on top of 2 inches of gravel, so.
You'll be fine.
You're fine.
6.5 inches.
Yeah, we're not gonna get that technical.
Yeah, and I do plan on asking the company if they allow me to transfer my deposit over.
I hope so. I mean, we want to see you have this.
It was so close that I asked the company, I kind of need plans to get a permit. And
Yeah.
they're like, we kind of need a down payment to give you plans. And
The
I'm
chicken
like,
and an egg.
but
I
what
know.
if I get denied?
I know.
So I will hope for the best, but if they move it over, I'll ask them what the peak height is.
Sure.
And because I don't, for a lift, which I may not do one now, that was one of the purposes of the extra width. But if I still go with a lift, I think the most I need overhead was 12 foot, 11 and a half, somewhere in that range. Just for the simple fact that I'm 6'2", and your normal cars, like my Tahoe, is about 6 foot. So if I wanted to lift that to, if I have to replace my transmission or something,
Mhm.
those aren't fun to do on the ground. I most definitely want to be able to, stand up and walk out of there when I'm done instead of crawling, because it's no fun crawling on the ground anymore. But yeah, if they'll transfer it over, I'll try to stay within the 15, so that the variance won't even really be an issue. But if I go above the 15, the variance.
You're covered then.
You're
Yeah,
covered.
you're covered.
Yeah. Up to 17.
Okay.
All right.
before I leave, is there anything else?
No, I just appreciate the work you're doing with the landscaping and everything else to keep your property up. I mean, it's appreciated.
I always try to, I don't like breaking even. So even on the cars that I've bought and sold in the past, the way I look at, if I sell them for what I have in them, I'm not breaking even, I'm coming out ahead because I still have fun working on them or driving them or saving gas money because bigger vehicles are notorious for guzzling gas. And that was one of the things that Mr. Messer had brought up was, is this gonna detract from your value, your land value? I don't see any scenario aside from, you know, the shop just completely rusted out, falling down, where it's going to detract from it. It's only gonna add to it for the extra storage. I mean, you see people go out all the time and pay, I don't know what they are here, my uncle paid $6,000 for a little wooden shack. And it's, why would you do that? So, I don't see it detracting from the value whatsoever. It may not, in the long run, it may not add what I'm spending, but it won't detract from it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you much.
All right. So it's the end of our variance cases. We don't have any property maintenance cases. Any old business? Any updates? I don't know if we have anything to.
Nothing-
Okay.
Nothing new.
Nothing, okay. No new business. So at this point, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Mr. Ogred made a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals and Property Review Commission, and this was seconded by Mr. Burke. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Very much. I'm gonna go turn off YouTube.
Yeah.